Well, I was kind of hoping I wouldn't have to make another video until after the draft, or at least during the draft, but not after today. That's obviously not going to happen now. So, to take you through the timeline real quick, after I made that 40-minute long draft video, I think Saturday or Sunday, I thought that would probably cover me pretty good until at least after the first day or first 2 days. And then 2 days ago, I saw some stuff on Twitter that seemed to make it pretty clear that we wanted to trade Frank Clark and that we were doing everything we could. And it seemed like an inevitability. And I thought, well, maybe now I have to make a video. I was actually going to make a video saying that I don't want to trade Frank Clark. I'd rather let him play the season out on the franchise tag and see where we're at in a year and use his production for one more season at least. So I wasn't really feeling it at the time, but I also accepted that we seemed to really want to trade him. So I wasn't thrilled, because based off what we've seen other players get traded for, and based off what we've seen the way that other teams are valuing even really good pass rushers, it seemed like we were going to get a second-round pick. And I didn't want to trade Frank Clark for a second-round pick. That's not moving the needle for me in a way that Frank Clark does, because my thing is, this team has a chance to compete now. This team could win 12 or 13 games. It's on the table. This team should at least make the playoffs, in my opinion, and has potential to compete for the title. But they don't if they don't have a pass rush. And right now our pass rush with Frank Clark would have been decent, above average, maybe pretty good, not great, but it would have been serviceable. And I was like, if we don't have Clark, our pass rush goes from probably a little above average to maybe the worst in the league. So I was like, let's just keep him for one more year and then see where we're at in 2020. Because a second-round pick is not worth us punting this season on our pass rush, which I kind of feel like we basically would have been. So we did trade Frank Clark today, after all, which is not really what I wanted initially. We did get a second-round pick next year, but listen to me. We also got Kansas City's first-round pick this year, and we also swapped third-rounder, so we moved down 8 spots in the third round. I think Clark is a fantastic player. I think he'll be missed. I'm worried about the team, but we cannot say no to that deal. That deal is so good. We had no choice, guys. We had to take that. A first-round pick this year, like the 29th pick. A second-round pick next year, which should be near the bottom of the second round, but still. And then we move around a little bit with our third-rounders, which, you know, whatever, not a huge deal. For a really good 25-year-old defensive end who wanted to get paid $22 million a year or whatever he ended up getting, and we had to do it. That is such a good value. I mean, I'm excited. The draft just got a lot more interesting. We now have 2 first-round picks, 2 picks near the bottom of the second, near the bottom of the first round. Gives us a lot more flexibility, and we got out of having to pay one player $22 million a year for the next 5 years, which is what he would have wanted. So to discuss the trade aspect, what we got, real quick, if I had to revise my prediction, I think that we will be picking in the first round once, and then we will trade down with our other pick and load up on second rounders. So if I had to have a new prediction, I would say this. Our first pick in the first round, whichever one it may be, 21 or 29, I don't know which one we're going to use, but I think we're going to use one of them. I think we are going to end up with Clelin Ferrell, the defensive end from Clemson. That would be my guess. And if he falls, maybe Montez Sweat comes into the picture. Montez Sweat, his heart condition might push him down into the 20s, but I don't really think it's going to happen, so that's purely a pipe dream. I think that we will then use our other first-round pick to trade down into the second round. And if I had to make a prediction there, I would stick by probably Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. My favorite is Darnell Savage, but there's also Nazir Adderley. There's also maybe Taylor Rapp if he falls down that far, or maybe, probably not Byron Murphy. I don't think he's going to fall that far, but there are options. And we just opened up a whole bunch of them with this trade. So if you want a draft prediction 2 days before day one, that would be mine. First round, Clelin Ferrell. Second round, we get Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. And we might have another second round pick. So at that point, we could take a guy like O'Shane Zimenez or Jalen Ferguson. So that would be my prediction. Now, I'm still concerned about the other side of that coin. Frank Clark was really good, guys. I see people on Twitter today kind of saying, oh, well, you know, Frank Clark wasn't that good. Some people who are making fun of Kansas City, and by the way, Kansas City should be made fun of because this was a huge overpay on their part, I think. They're saying, oh, Frank Clark is no better than Dee Ford. I don't think that's the case. I think Frank Clark is not hugely better than Dee Ford, but he is better than Dee Ford. And right now, if you're the Seahawks defense, we have one guy who can rush the passer, Jarran Reed. He's the one guy on this team who has established the ability to get to the quarterback. Other than that, our top defensive ends now are Cassius Marsh, Jacob Martin, Rasheem Green, and that, I mean, we got a couple other guys on the roster like Brandon Jackson, but they've proven nothing. Rasheem Green has barely proven anything. Jacob Martin has barely proven anything. The best defensive end on our roster right now by far is Cassius Marsh, and he is a dude who has bounced around the league on like 3 different teams now. So if we end up punting on this season and we go 8-8 for no other reason than we can't get to the quarterback because we don't have anybody who can get to the quarterback except for Reed. And by the way, Reed is not Aaron Donald. Reed is not even, you know, what Sue used to be. Reed is a good defensive tackle pass rusher, but he is not Donald or Sue or even, I don't think, Fletcher Cox. I'm not going to be happy about that. So my advice to the Seahawks would be get Clelin Ferrell. If you have the option to, get Montez Sweat. And then get O'Shane Zimenez or Jalen Ferguson. And then go get Ezekiel Ansah or Nick Collins in free agency. We need to load up. We have one guy who can get to the quarterback reliably. Right now, we need like 5. The elite defenses have a whole bunch of guys who can get after the quarterback. We no longer have a superstar, so we need to load up on guys who are good at getting to the quarterback. But I'm happy, guys. This trade was so good, I can't not be happy. We got so much in return. Clark already got his $100 million contract, by the way. So now, instead of having to pay one guy $22 million, we get to pay maybe 4 or 5 guys that same amount of money, and we try to replace his production from those guys. And I think we can do it. We just have to go out and do it. So, free agency draft, let's hit that defensive end spot hard. I know that's what I want. And I guess that's about it, but it's a big day today. 2 days before the draft, and we just finally loaded up on a little bit of value. We actually have some chips to play with when the draft starts. So I'll probably make videos after our picks, but at this point, I think I've said all that needs to be said. See y'all later.